Alrighty, we are live. Welcome to the show, Dean. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Just chilling, man. Just ready to jump into it.
Awesome, awesome. Well, welcome back, guys, to the Virtual Millionaire Show. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. This is a live show, and so make sure to let us know in the comments where you're coming in from. And if you join in after, feel free to drop a comment. We're going to be having some Q&A for Dean at the end of this. But excited to learn more about your story, man. We met a few weeks back. Maybe it's been over a month ago already, which is crazy to think about, in San
hmm
Diego at Tony's Mastermind. So I got a chance to get to know you just briefly there, but your story really inspired me, man, because it's not every day you find a somebody who's in sports at a high level like you were, who realizes before it's too late that they don't want to go down that path forever. And so I'd love for you to just take a minute, introduce yourself, and tell us who you are, a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into your real estate story.
Yeah, let's do it, man. All right, cool. So yeah, I'm Dean Rogers. Grew up here in California and just grew up as the sports guy. Small town in Central California, so there wasn't much to do but to go to school, go to church, and play sports. And so sports was really all I knew. I loved it. Was just always good at it, and was one of those kids you saw that was just always playing sports. And you know, that's all that I knew, right? And when I was growing up, I'd always fill out like wanted to be a professional athlete whenever I was filling it out in class, and believed that was a dream that was possible, but at the same time, like it still felt like out of reach because I grew up in a small town, like big towns, Hollywood. That could just kind of seemed like too much, right? Is that even possible for me from little small town? But and that
How
kind of
small
plays,
of a town are we talking, man?
it was 140,000 people.
Do you
Which
want to know how big the town that I grew up is?
you got like 2,000 people there or something.
300. Sorry to interrupt you, but
No,
I had to throw that out there when I
even
heard small
smaller than
town.
I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I got nothing on you. So, but yeah, farming town, dairy town, no real big industry or business. And so for me, that kind of played into my whole story, just kind of like this underdog kind of story. Uh, played sports, high school, was getting looked at by colleges, getting the letters in the mail, but still not like from the big colleges. And growing up on the West Coast, UCLA, USC, the Oregon Ducks, like those were the big schools that you wanted to play for in the Pac-10. But I was hardly getting looked at by many. So, I played running back in high school and did great there, but went to UC Davis for football and got a scholarship there. And same kind of story, like just kind of came onto the scene and excelled, and then got all the accolades, first team All-American, all that kind of stuff, and had NFL scouts showing up, and still felt like, okay, now I'm at a small college, football college, do I really have a shot? But I always continued to just put in the effort, stayed committed. I wasn't out partying and drinking and, doing all that kind of stuff in college. I stayed pretty darn focused. And so then, it was time to train for the NFL and see if that was going to happen. College was over, and I got the call, dude. I got the call from the Chargers. Was talking to, like 12 teams or so before the draft, but I got the call from the Chargers, and they're like, "You got your bags packed?" And this is like 5 p.m. in the evening, and they're like, "You got your bags packed because you're flying out tomorrow morning at 6 a.m." And I was like, "Holy shit!" And dude, I'll never forget. I had just got back to the house with my brother-in-law. My parents were out of town. My wife was out on a bachelorette party, and it was just me and my brother-in-law. And we were like two schoolgirls jumping in the living room together, just like, oh my God. Like it was crazy because
I made it, right?
yeah, dude, it was insane. So, I fly in, and it's like, someone's waiting at the airport for you to pick you up, and it's like limo service type of thing. Like it's already like big time, right? And I roll into the scene, and they do a physical on me. They check me out. And I'll never forget this part. I remember day one, the veterans were already there practicing, and I show up, and I think because I went to a small college, the linemen are the biggest, strongest, most insanely huge people you've ever seen in your life. And every one of them is like that. So I think because I went to the small college, I didn't have all those monster linemen. The physical reaction my body had was so insane. I couldn't explain it. I was so overwhelmed that I almost had a freak out moment. I was like, dude, am I even going to be able to play at this level? Like, this is crazy. These guys are monsters. Like,
Okay, so just give people a background real quick. How tall are you? I mean, you're a big guy.
Yeah, so I'm 6'3", I'm 255 at the time. I'm now 235, but 255 at the time. I'm already like a big guy, right?
Yeah.
And most people, especially in my hometown where I grew up, everyone's looking at me, "Oh, how tall are you?" is always the question. "Oh, you're huge." Stuff like that. But I'm telling you, my physical body had a reaction seeing these monsters. And that first 24 hours, Michael, dude, like I had concerns. Like, I was like, dude, how am I going to play at this level? So they take me through, the locker room. They get me all fitted out with the equipment team and give me my locker. I'm 3 lockers away from Phillip Rivers, 4 from Antonio Gates. I know I'm right next to Ryan Matthews, the running back at the time. And I'm like, dude, this is insane, right? And I remember waking up the next morning. It was like, all right, I'm putting on my fucking cleats and I'm going, and I'm not looking back. And so they don't mess around. Like, you're jumping in day one. There's no warm up. Like, let's get you get your body through some drills. It's like, no, here's your playbook. You're starting tomorrow and you're getting in. Like, we're starting, right? We're professionals here. So I jump in the first play. Now, mind you, this plays into my whole story. I played tight end in college. They moved me to fullback. So Norv Turner moves me to fullback, okay? And I'll come back to why that was such a big part of my story. But moved me to fullback, and the first play, set hike, we're running a counter. I come around the corner, and Bob Sanders, Pro Bowler, strong safeties, flying off the edge, and I light his ass up, and Norv Turner just throws his clipboard, and he's like, "There you go, Rogers!" And I'm just looking around like, oh shit, this is cool. And from that moment on, like, it was just 100% go. And Norv Turner loved me, dude. He was, he'd stop me in the hallways many times and tell me I'm going to have a long career. And I was playing great, feeling great. Like, and the games were actually easier than practices. Cause in practice, people are going after, right? And, they're trying to kind of, be the alpha, but in the games, like, you don't have as many reps and you're just going full go, and it's super, super fun. Right.
So rookies laying out Pro Bowlers on the first day of practice.
Yeah. Right.
Hilarious.
Yeah. So, dude, it was a surreal experience. And then you've got just alpha energy everywhere. If you've ever watched Hard Knocks, you can see the intensity. Like, they even got the intense music behind it to like lean in on the intensity. And you got people always talking trash, like trying to instigate things. Like, I pancaked, long veteran Larry English linebacker in practice one time. And Donald Driver, starting the middle linebacker time, he's like, "Hey, Larry, Dean said he pancaked your ass and was talking trash." And I'm like, "I didn't say anything, man. Like, I didn't say anything."
He was trying to start something.
He's trying to start something. Yeah. And like, there's that kind of stuff going on all the time. So, yeah, man, I mean, it was just a super surreal experience. To 1 week before, I'm training 4 hours to 5 hours a day, running routes with guys. So I grew up in Central California, guys from Fresno State who were already in the NFL and guys about to go in the NFL. We're catching passes, we're running routes, we're lifting weights for 2 hours a day, we're speed training. And then for the next 4 hours a day, I'm back home with my buddies playing Madden and FIFA for 4 hours, right?
That's awesome.
And so 1 week I'm playing video games with the Chargers and freaking other guys. And the next week I'm in the locker room with these guys. And I got Phillip Rivers. "Hey, what's up, Dino? How's it going, man?" And he's just a big goofball. And, he's playing, like, these guys are at such a high level, making so much money, and they're so competitive, they will gamble and bet on anything. And when I mean anything, like just randomly, there would be people with water bottles and they would throw them at the laundry bins and be like, $1,000, right? And they'll be like, hey, you want to go? And they'd be $1,000 a throw. And then Phillip Rivers and Antonio Gates went one day, and I'm not joking, it got up to $200,000, double or nothing. And I was crapping my pants because I'm
on
like,
a water bottle throw.
On a water bottle throw, dude. And just the crazy stuff that you would see and have happen. But at the same time, like in the locker room, I think the media makes it crazier, right? Like obviously it's an entertainment business. So people are getting paid so much because they're getting entertained. But when you're sitting in the locker room, it's like you and I as real estate investors sitting at the mansion mastermind. Like we're just two guys who are investors, who are passionate, who have become highly skilled at what we do. And so we make good money doing it. These guys are no different. They're just like you and me sitting in the locker room who have put in the time and effort and have been fortunate to be having the opportunity to be there, right? Usually because of exceptional skill, and they're making tens of millions of dollars. Like it's crazy. And so like, dude, the other parts of the story, just seeing like the red carpet events everywhere you go. I mean, I remember we went to go play the Cowboys. We roll it to the hotel, and this is not like a one-time story. This is like, you see this kind of stuff. We roll up to the hotel, and out of nowhere, one of the most gorgeous women I've ever seen in my life, just crafted with God's hands, walks straight through the lobby.
That was your wife, right?
I said one of the most gorgeous.
Okay,
the other one, yeah, one of two. So the other one was my wife. Now, one of the most gorgeous women walks through the lobby room and straight to the first round draft pick. Like, there's no way they had any relationship before this. There's not a chance in the world. And she just beelines it straight for him. She just happened to know he's the one, right? Like that kind of stuff happened all the time. Just model women coming out of nowhere, just showing up to events or almost like waiting for people. And then you've also got just like the stuff after games, people screaming to get your autograph. And I just joined the team and I didn't come from a big college. There's no way they know me, but just the celebrity status. And like people following you to your car, just to watch you drive away. Just that kind of stuff was kind of crazy and surreal. But so I got stories on stories of just how crazy it was. But for me, like my story to kind of wrap it up is playing great, feeling great. Norv Turner telling me I'm going to have a long career, but I moved from tight end to fullback. And for the first time in my life, I actually had to start icing my head after practice, right? I was already used to sitting in ice baths, but I had to start icing my head, dude.
So I played fullback for 10 years.
Okay.
From midget all the way through to the senior in high school. And I never did go to college, but I can't even imagine like the impact that even in those lower levels take. And then you're talking about not just college, we're talking about NFL and like those big linemen and stuff like that. Dude, I can't even imagine like how much head trauma that must have been.
That's what it was. And just to kind of give a visual, when I played tight end and we were doing a run play, I wasn't going out to catch a pass, but a run play, the guy who I was going to block is usually a defensive end or a linebacker. And they're 1 to 2 yards away, max maybe 3 by the time we make contact. That's still a good collision, but it's close proximity. As a fullback, the people I'm now blocking are linebackers, strong safeties, and sometimes a defensive end or defensive tackle. Not only the defensive linemen, massive human beings and insanely strong, but the linebackers and the strong safeties are just as big, just as strong, just as fast, if not faster than me. And it's not 1 to 2 yards. We're 10 plus yards away from each other. So if you think about that, running, if you just were to visualize yourself, go look wherever you're at. If you're in like a wall or out in public and listen to this, and you go look an object that's 10 yards away and just maybe it's a wall, and then say, I'm going to go run as fast as I can right now and lead with my head into that unmovable object, there's going to be a lot of pain that comes from that.
Yeah, no, thank you.
And I can say that I think, you could try to hit with your shoulders and do all that stuff, which you're supposed to. But when you're running between the huge, massive linemen and the gap, the hole that you're supposed to run through that run play on, and you're supposed to open up that hole and the linebacker standing right there, the gap is so narrow, you're almost leading with your head every time because your momentum is leaning forward and it's hard not to. So, man, I tell you what, like I felt my brain like swelling and just like I had to ice it after practices. And in games, I didn't have to because like it wasn't just the repetitive just car crashes, but in practice I had to. And I just had the eye-opening experience of, ESPN talking about concussions. Junior Seau killed himself that year. I saw old vets walking around that were just beat up. And it just scared the living heck out of me to where I knew I could go through this journey and I didn't have the leverage to go to Norv Turner and say, hey, dude, Antonio Gates, I know he's a Hall of Famer, but I just would love to have my position back,
Right.
I didn't really have that leverage.
I was going to ask you if you beat out Antonio Gates.
Yeah, didn't really have that leverage. So that being said, I knew that I had to move on, man. And it was the hardest decision I've ever made in my life. I still have dreams waking up to this day of being in the locker room and being on the team and about to go play a game and all that kind of stuff, and wake up with my heart pounding and like excited and ready to go. And then I'm like, oh, dang it. Like, nope, that was a life before,
Just going to go flip some houses now,
Just going to go flip some houses now. Yeah. What's funny about that is, there's obvious a great amount of opportunity in something like the NFL to make money. And I have the one person I compare it to. I have a person I swear was separated at birth, a guy who I met in the NFL when I was there, who looks like me, is the same size as me, like everything on the stat sheet is the same, played like me, and was playing fullback. And he had like an 8-year career and made really good money, got the big paychecks and all that kind of stuff. But everyone has a different experience. I just knew, I felt in my head, if I kept doing it, I was going to die early and be a vegetable. And it was a tough decision. And so that was my life. That was my story. So I walked away. And then, Michael, I started from scratch, right? Because the one thing I've been saying is, I walked away from the 7-figure contract. I didn't walk away with the 7-figure contract.
Wow. So
you know what I mean?
Yeah. So you didn't have like a severance or anything like that. You basically said, I quit.
No, yeah.
I didn't honor my contract, so now I can't collect that paycheck.
The only way you get a severance is if you get a physical documented injury, right? And I had like a concussion when I was there. But dude, when you're there, you're not trying to come off the field. I didn't tell anybody, right? I didn't tell anybody, oh, hey, I got my bell rung a little too much. I feel concussed. Like, I'm going to sit this out. Is that cool? No, like, you want to get every rep you can. You want to be in, you want to progress to the next level. So unless you broke something or tore something, you don't get any severance when you say I'm out of here. Right. So I walked away from that. And fortunately, like, my transition to how I got into real estate was, I had a buddy from college I played football with, and he knew I was done. And he said, hey, I got a great opportunity for you. I'm working at this tech company in San Francisco Bay Area. I could basically walk you in the door. And he did just that. Now, I went from the 7-figure contract to a $65,000 salary in the Bay Area, which is extremely expensive.
Right.
And, but I felt good. I felt good about the opportunity. I felt good. And I knew there would be life after football, right? There'd be some day. And it felt like the right opportunity that could get me there and would create a good living and life for my family. But flash forward real quick through that, a year into it, I realized when they said, hey, we'll bump you from $65,000 to $67,000, that this was not the vehicle to get me back to that incredible lifestyle that the NFL was going to provide in terms of resources and generational wealth and freedom. Like, this was not going to get me there fast. And maybe if I was in a sales role or something else other than the role I was in, it could have been better to facilitate that. But I didn't. And I just got right on Google and was like, man, what else is there? What else is there that I'm passionate about? What else could I like enjoy doing? I just remember, growing up, my parents had some rentals and had a couple rentals. Okay. I remember that, going with them to check on the rent and stuff like that. I remember late night Dean Graciosi infomercials as a teenager, watching those at 2 a.m. in the morning and like getting excited about it and feeling like I should do something about it. But never did. And so I just typed in how to get started in real estate and found Sean Terry's free podcast,
Flip to Freedom.
So to kind of do the first second I heard Sean's excited voice and he's just kind of quirky, and I was like, dude, this guy, he's making me feel things, man.
He's high
making
in life.
Feel things. And he's got these everyday Joe Schmoes who are like transforming their lives through real estate. And it really did make it sound simple, but it was the effort and hustle behind it and that's what I had. I had no real transferable skills from the NFL to the professional real life, where there's no safety net, right? You either make it or you don't. And it's up to you to figure it out. That was a big life lessons too. Once I got out, it's like, yo, figure it out. There's no game plan. There's no playbook. There's no, show up to this meeting. It's you either get it done or you don't. And so, I
Real
felt
quick, how long were you in the NFL, just for some perspective, before you transitioned to your professional career?
2011, hold on, I'm getting this wrong. 2011, 12.
Okay. So a full season, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you probably learned a lot from the NFL, and obviously you found out real quickly that you weren't going to achieve financial freedom doing that, which is where you explored other options.
Yeah.
And then you found the infomercials, you found the Sean Terry. Something felt right about that. Then what happened next?
Yeah, just a fire lit inside of me of excitement. So I just took immediate action. I didn't do more research. I didn't see what other things could be something that I'm interested in. I just took immediate action on what Sean was teaching on. Do this strategy and you'll get leads. And then you say these things and then you structure a deal together and you fill out this contract, and all of it was audio. Nothing was a program that I paid for. Nothing was a YouTube video showing me how to fill the contract. I remember waking up after listening to a podcast. I woke up at like 1 o'clock in the morning to re-listen to one of his episodes on how to fill out the purchase contract, and having a notebook and like writing it out word for word to make sure I understood it and grasped it. Right.
You wrote the whole contract word for word?
Yeah, I wrote it out word for word just because I was following it so intently. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. So
right.
The story on that was I actually did my first deal within 3 months on the dot from that first Google search and listening just to Sean Terry's podcast.
That is insane.
It was fast. And the cherry on top, which I enjoy about the story, especially thinking back on it, is I co-wholesaled my first deal with Sean Terry.
Nice.
So I followed what he was saying so like intently that I actually did the marketing strategy he was talking about in his market, not mine, in his real estate market, and got the property under contract, couldn't get it sold. And then I was like, what do I do? I was like, maybe Sean Terry could help me, but I don't know how to get a hold of Sean Terry. Right. I remember him mentioning his website. Let me go to his website and fill it out like I'm a seller. So I did that. And then his acquisition guy called me and was like, I'll put you in contact with Sean. It looks like this could be a deal. And then Sean Terry calls me on the phone. Hey, what's up, man? I heard you got a deal. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I was like a fangirl at that time. I was like,
right.
So, so I was.
How much did you make on the first deal?
So the first deal, it was a $12,000 deal that we split, made $6,000 on my first deal.
How important was that first deal?
The first deal was probably the most important deal for everyone, right?
100%.
And I just had one of my coaching students close his first deal with one of my leads that he got from our negotiation training call that we have every Tuesday. It was a $30,000 deal that we split together. He made 15 on his first deal. So I was like, dude, you did better than me on my first deal, you
I
know?
love it. I love it.
And he closed his first deal in about 3 months as well. So I that first deal is so important because it's the shift of believing you can do it. This is real. I heard it. Is it real? I'm not sure. I'm taking action. I'm seeing some momentum. Boom. Mind shift, complete shift of this is real. I can do it. I can do it again. I can do it better. And that's the excitement of like, I can make this a reality and create the freedom that I'm wanting and hoping, right?
Yeah, man. And how important was it to seek somebody out? Because I think a lot of people, they do try to do YouTube University, and that could absolutely work.
Yeah.
It seems to me like a lot of people are still trying to get their first deal who've been trying to do the deal themselves for the last 2 years or however long they've been doing it. And it took me 8 months to get my first deal. And I
Mhm.
did have a mentor, but how important was it to have somebody who you were working with, who you could approach and who could help you get that deal to the finish line?
Yeah. The one thing I wish I would have done sooner, because I did have help on that first deal. And my first couple deals, I actually co-wholesaled with Sean Terry, but I wasn't sitting by his side. I wasn't like learning through him. We were working together, right? We were adding value to each other. But the one thing I scream from the mountaintops now is if you're new, the quickest way for you to accelerate your growth and elevate yourself to that next level is to surround yourself with experienced investors and bring value to them, right? Because there's too many people who are just they're going through YouTube University, they're jumping from one new shiny object to another. They're not really getting traction or really developing the skills that they need. They're just getting more and more information and analysis paralysis. But if you can learn how to find a deal, that's valuable. That's the number one skill set you've got to learn when you're first starting out. It's not building a buyer's list. It's not raising private money, which are all important things, but you've got to be able to find a deal. Got to be able to find a deal. And so if you can do that, and that's just finding an opportunity. A deal doesn't mean you have a deal under contract yet. It's just potentially a qualified lead. That's valuable. Someone who wants to sell the house and do it at a discount, that's valuable. Bring that to someone experienced like yourself or myself. Now we can provide our experience, our value to make that a deal and maximize that opportunity and turn it into a deal that generates money. Then everyone is receiving value. Me as the experienced person is going to pour more into that person, and that's going to help them accelerate and grow much, much faster than if they try to do it on their own. They might screw that deal up. They might offer too much. They might undersell it to a buyer and make almost next to nothing, and believe, oh, it's okay if I just make 1,000 or 2,000 on my first deal, which is good to make something and still prove it. But shoot, some of the people who have come to me and added value with a deal, I mean, we've done $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 deals that we've split in half, and we are all winning big on those type of deals. And they're accelerating by not only making more money and having resources to now accelerate, but now they're associated at another level with someone experienced. And now that experienced person wants to bring that person into their circle. Like, hey, I see this hustler. They got something, right? And the person who's just kind of kicking tires, going through the information and wants to buy you coffee to pick your brain, I'm sorry, I just don't have time for that. But if you've got value, I hardly have enough time. But if you have value, I got value too. Let's exchange value and let's win together, right?
Dude, so good, man. You hit all the points on the head. I think that's really the main thing is you focus on bringing the deal to the table. The
Yeah.
rest will figure itself out, and the amount that somebody learns from that first deal is insane. Like
Yes.
I partnered on my first deal. We have people bring deals to us. And I remember my first deal that I didn't actually wholesale. It was a bird dog fee. I think I made $500. Looking back to that first house and where it's at today, knowing what I know now, had I found somebody like you or me at that time, dude, it would have been a $40,000 flip
Wow.
easily,
Yeah.
easily. And so that right there in your itself. So if you're watching this, if you're in Central California, right, Dean,
Yep.
is where
Yep.
you're coming in from, or if you're in the Midwest, we do business all over the Midwest. If you have a deal, send it to Dean, send it to me. Like let's do some deals together, guys.
Yeah.
That's what this is all about. And so, very good point there. And I love what you're doing with the Friends with Benefits program. Man, can you talk about that? I want people to
Yeah.
know about this.
Yeah. So fun catchphrase, the Friends with Benefits program that I coined, and that all materialized from just realizing a couple years ago that, you know what, people are aware of us, people know we're doing deals, and but I feel like we're not doing enough deals with other people, and at that time I had a shift in my mindset from kind of being focused on our business, kind of heads down, right? Because, dude, when I came from the NFL and walked away from that, I had a massive chip on my shoulder of like, am I good enough? It can't. Am I going to do anything worth a damn in this life? And is there going to be something I do that I'm proud of? I had a massive chip on my shoulder, and I'd argue I still have a chip on my shoulder. Whether it needs to be there or not, I still leave it there because I still drive and push. But the reality is, I knew that it was me against me. That's the mindset I had, right? I had the blinders on. I'm going to get to work. I'm going to show myself. It wasn't I had haters I had to prove or anything. I had to prove to myself I was worth something. And so I put my head down, was working my butt off, kind of like the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. Like I wasn't out shaking hands and meeting people and going to meetups. I was just focused on my business and generating leads direct to seller, and ended up finding my business partner a year after getting in the business. We started growing together, but still head down, focused on my business. And then I realized a couple years ago, there's an amazing opportunity. If I change my mindset to an abundance mindset, not that I wasn't abundantly thinking, I wanted to grow and get bigger and better, but abundance mindset from the standpoint of community. If I lean on my community and don't look at them as competitors, but potential partners, right? I can collaborate with these people. Now there's no more competition. As a matter of fact, there's more opportunity. There's more opportunity. So immediately, once that thought, just like the light bulb went off, I thought to myself, I need to create a meetup. I need to create a meetup because these people who I've spoken to on the phone at this point, a couple years ago, almost like I'd say 80 to 90% of the people I did business with on a regular basis, I'd never seen face to face.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Because I'm living in San Diego. My business is in Central California where I grew up, but I'm rarely traveling. And when I do travel, I'm kind of just spending time with family and meeting with my partner. Like I'm not shaking hands with the people who I'm wholesaling deals with or meeting the contractors who are doing our flips. I'm just kind of heads down, right? And so I need to start a meetup. I need to meet these people. I need to build a community. So I did just that. And the first meetup, we had about 100 people show up to it.
That's
and
insane.
that's half the town, at least half the town for you, right?
Yeah, well, yeah,
in your
where I'm
hometown.
from.
So 100 people show up, which is a great turnout. And I thought, man, we're onto something. People are excited. People want to meet. People want to grow and learn together. And so with that mindset in mind, with everything that happened in the world, a month later from our first meetup, no more in-person stuff. So I had to get creative. How can I create a similar collaborative, community-based thing? Well, a lot of people are looking on the internet and looking for connection. I'm going to start sharing more than just me going to the park with my kids or going to the beach with my kids. I'm going to share the deals we're doing, right? So I started talking about the deals. And because I'm virtual, right, the Virtual Millionaire Show, because I'm a virtual investor, I'm not walking through properties every day, going on appointments, showing before and afters, or look at this, horrible house. I'm just literally sharing about what I'm doing with my kids during the day. So I start sharing about the deals that we're closing. What do the numbers look like? We made this much money on this deal, and people are interested in that kind of stuff. So they start leaning in. Then I got creative. Okay, well, I want to add value to other people. So I started saying, hey guys, if you've got just a qualified lead, someone who wants to sell a house, and you need help talking to the seller, going on the appointment, getting pictures, negotiating the deal, and then once that's all got under contract, if you need help finding a buyer, selling it for top dollar, handling the escrow process to make sure the deal doesn't fall apart, we'll do 100% of that work, and we'll treat it like we're partners. We'll split it 50-50. So just reach out. We want to give an overwhelming amount of value because we're just interested in building that relationship and creating a win-win. And I think a lot of experienced investors do it wrong by saying, oh, hey, bring me a lead. I'll close it for you. I'll give you a finder's fee, right? I'll give you $1,000 or something. No, if you do a monster, I've done the biggest friends with benefits deal we've done was a $122,000 net profit deal. That investor, a newer investor, his first year in business, and I think it was his third or fourth deal, put $61,000 in his pocket. Like that could be life changing.
100%.
Right? And so for me, I want to give all my value, all my resources, my team's completely available. We'll even buy like that deal, the 122 net profit deal. We bought it with our own money, didn't charge interest, none of that stuff. We're partners, right? Bought it with our own money, sold it to a buyer, closed it, got it done, and sent them a wire for $61,000. So
incredible.
We'll do that. So that's what I started saying is like, hey guys, qualified lead, we'll help you get the deal done. We'll maximize that opportunity. Then people started taking interest. It wasn't a landslide. It wasn't a snowball effect. It was like little trickles of some people here and there. Then I had some success stories to share about that. Hey, look at this guy. We just did a deal. It was his first deal. We made 40,000. He got 20. Like, this is awesome. And I'd send, a screenshot of me PayPaling $20,000 to this person. Like this is awesome. Right. And I started saying, I love sending friends money. Like how much fun is it to send friends money? This is so cool. Don't you wish your friends sent you money? And then it transitioned into, well, how could I kind of brand this and make it catchy? What could I call it? And then I thought of friends with benefits. So there's nothing better than some friends that you get benefits from. And actually in this case, we're making money together. Like, wouldn't it be awesome to make friends with, money with some friends? So friends with benefits. So basically people are in the friend zone until we do a deal. And then we become friends with benefits, and we made t-shirts that people get if we do a deal. And we've had people reach out like, hey, how can I get a shirt? It's like, you got to earn it, man. You got to earn it. So it's become really fun.
Dude, I love that. I like how you put a fun spin to it. And, I totally get where you're coming from with being virtual. And then, obviously you're a family guy. I'm a family guy. I spend a lot of time with family. Like, I'm at home and I'll go out after this and we're going to go to Scottsdale today. And it's going to be amazing. Like, I get to hang out with my family because of the lifestyle of this business. But one thing that I do struggle with is I do have a hard time, like showing the actual numbers. Like, we're closing deals, but I have a hard time figuring out how to present that when like literally all I see is the check and that's it. Like, my team made it all happen. It's amazing. But now I need to be able to communicate that better. That way people know more about what's actually going on so they can lean into that and let's do deals together. And so I just love the value and the go-giver abundant mindset that you have, because obviously it's coming back in tenfold. And by the way, how much did those leads cost you?
Cost you nothing.
That's right. That's right. $0. And so
best lead source.
Best lead source ever. So let's talk about, this show is all about obviously how to start and scale a real estate business, but also how to do it virtually as well. And because you've done just that, I'd love to hear kind of the progression of what it looked like in the beginning. You talked a lot about year one, about hustling and doing a lot of that yourself. Obviously, you're building up some team members around you who might be helping you build your business. So can you talk to what that journey's been like to scaling your business, and maybe get into about the celebrity status that we both know of
Yeah.
in that realm?
Yeah. Awesome. So, going back to the beginning when I first got started, and let's just flash forward past doing, a couple deals with Sean Terry in the Phoenix area. But when I started doing direct to seller marketing in Central California, my market where I grew up, and where I recognize this is a market I understand. The house prices are below the national medium house price, and I understand not only the neighborhoods, but the houses are easy to understand. They're pretty cookie cutter, built in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. And sure, you'll get newer houses in the 2000s and on up. But most of our identifiable market is in those 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s houses. And they all pretty much look the same. So for me, I felt really comfortable knowing where to go. And so when I started doing that marketing, it really relied heavily being virtual. I've been virtual since day one, right? When I started, I had that eye opening, I got to get started in real estate. I was living in the San Francisco Bay Area. When I realized I wanted to start a family, we're like, it's cold and don't get family vibes in San Francisco. Let's move back to San Diego. So been virtual since day one. And, but that communication was really important for me, sending postcards and sellers calling those postcards in the beginning. I had to be a good communicator and build good rapport to get them to do a deal with me over the phone, right? I wasn't signing contracts over the kitchen table. I was signing contracts via DocuSign. And so being able to communicate really well and make them feel comfortable with the process was key. And then once I got my business partner, it made it easier to lean in heavier on marketing. And he was the boots on the ground person. If we needed an in-person appointment, he would go and be there across the kitchen table. So for me, I think that was a key element for me in my growth. Is I firmly believe you got to have a key player that's either heavily incentivized with good pay, or an actual partner as boots on the ground in a certain market. Can you be successful otherwise and do a couple deals or more in another market with just, a really good realtor who goes on appointments or something like that? You can. And I've done that in like micro markets within my market, of having a main cash buyer as like my representative who would actually have gotten contract signed. And that's good for us from a resource and time commitment, right? Of just kind of working out a process. But to really have that progressive growth, if you're virtual, I think you need to have a boots on the ground person, whether it's a really strong person you trust, or an actual business partner. And for me, that gave me a lot of confidence. And he was already experienced and ahead of me in terms of just what he's done and number of flips and all that stuff. Gave me a lot of credibility because he came in and spoke with confidence and understood how to do deals. And he did a lot of learning too, right? Because he wasn't traditional direct to seller. So he had to learn the script and learn the lingo and learn the talk and the negotiation techniques when he needed to negotiate. And I hadn't soft closed it over the phone. So we kind of grew and did that for a couple years just by ourselves. It was a good solid 3 or 4 years. And then we were just so busy, right? We were doing 20 flips at a time. I was sending out all the marketing, taking all the calls, and we're starting to kind of get a little tired and realizing, all right, we're making enough money. We need to grow. Let's hire some people. So then we hired an acquisition manager and office manager at the same time. Now all the paperwork was getting taken care of, organizational stuff. And now my baby, the acquisitions, hardest thing to give up, was now handed over to an acquisitions manager who was another wholesaler in our market that we had bought properties from, but raised his hand when I asked for, somebody interested in selling. So, or being, joining the team. So we started growing from there. And then, for about 2 years or so, that was the team, right? The four of us. And since then, once we've started growing more and having some good growth in the company, higher revenue, higher net profit, realized, okay, we need to do more marketing and hire more acquisitions guys. So we've got another acquisition guy on the team and another business development guy to focus on those relationships with wholesalers and realtors and the networking aspect to kind of grow that Friends with Benefits program. So that's how it's evolved. And it was a slow roll. It was not an overnight thing. It wasn't building the team up fast. It wasn't like we were making money hand over fist from the beginning. Like, there was a lot of learning lessons throughout that process and a lot of effort to have that breakthrough. And we're on the other side. We are definitely on the other side. I can say confidently and proudly, there's still a lot to do. There's still lots to learn and get better at, but I can confidently say we've pushed past that threshold of like making sure we have enough money to pay bills. We've gotten past, like, we're in full growth mode, stabilization mode. And, we've built our rental portfolio since 2018 to around 10 million bucks in our rental portfolio. And then, we're doing multiple 7 figures a year in our business. And most of the deals, I'd say about 80% of them are wholesale deals. And then the others are flips, because we used to be all flips. We've done hundreds of flips. But now we cherry pick them and do enough to keep our crews busy, but we don't get over our skis. Like, we don't do too many projects at a time, because that's when we just have the law of diminishing returns. The more projects we do, the smaller the profits get, the longer the timelines, we go over budget. But all the flips we've been doing recently, Michael, they're home run deals. Like, we just closed a $148,000 net profit flip deal. We got one, a handful just over the past couple months that were, $84,000. We got a couple $60,000 ones. We have a wholesale deal that's in escrow. It'll make about 50. We got another wholesale deal just went on the market. Doing nothing to it should make right around 100,000. And we got another one we're closing on next week to buy. It'll also be about $100,000 deal. So we're just cherry picking the good ones and focusing on better margins. Because when we were doing a bunch of flips, like, we were willing to make 15 to 20,000 bucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's major burnout, dude. Major burnout.
Dude, I'm fired up. Like, are you guys hearing this? Like, what would one of those deals do for your life? Like, if you're listening to this, just trust the process. Just know that Dean, he did not start there. This is what, six years in the making at least, right?
9 years. 9 years in the making.
9 years. So I'm way off. But yeah, like, it's all about progression. You don't need to do 100 deals. It's not even about the volume. It's about the profitability. And when you have that influx of leads, dude, you're cherry picking the best deals. That's incredible. How has your marketing progressed? Because one thing that I'm crazy about in a good way, I'm obsessed on the marketing component of real estate. At the end of the day, marketing in a wholesaling business is really your business. Like, the real estate's a byproduct of that, right?
Yeah.
And so how did that progress from the beginning until now, as far as maybe marketing spend and channels and that?
Yeah. Marketing is everything, man. Everything, marketing and sales. When you're wholesaling properties, it's marketing and sales. Even if you're flipping houses or buying rentals, it's still marketing and sales, and real estate is the product, like you said. So if you're not generating leads, even if they're free, right? You still don't have a business. So for us, we started with what Sean Terry was teaching, and it was direct mail, and it was not much competition, not as much investors in the market, and it was pretty easy. It worked every single month. And I started out with a small budget. The first mailer was about $500, and
Sounds
I
familiar.
had a sprinkle of leads that came in. I spoke to them. Some were interested. Sent a second mailer. Second mailer got my first deal, and it was like a $15,000 deal that I had wholesaled to my now partner, which kind of started the relationship.
And then you went out and bought a car, right?
I won't actually tell you what I spent the money on. It is hilarious. This is an off camera admission.
Okay, it's
It's
fair.
frick. It's way more funny than a car. It's too good
I
actually.
was joking. I didn't actually mean to catch you off guard there because,
No, you didn't catch me off guard. It's just like
what's
I want to
important.
share it. It's on the
Yeah,
tip of my
yeah.
tongue,
We'll
but
talk about it. But what's
yeah,
important, I think, that people understand is, obviously you got to celebrate every win.
yeah.
Like even today, we'll do like a few deals a week, and it's like, oh, we should probably go out to dinner. We should probably go celebrate that. But it's also a business, so you have to feed that machine, right? You have to keep putting that money back into marketing, and so keep going.
I reluctantly spent the money on the thing that I spent the money on. But I will say it is hilarious. So, anyways,
Let Dean know in the
every
comments if you want him to tell you what he spent the
yeah,
money on.
yeah. Let me know. So I continued on just pouring everything back into the business, and that's all that it was, and continue to increase the marketing spend on direct mail, and kept doing that. And then once I started having momentum there, it was, of course, more direct mail, and then starting some other things like some Facebook marketing, and setting up a website with a Carrot website, and doing those other kind of things. And I mean, shoot, over the years, I've done basically everything you can do. At this point, we do cold calling, we do Facebook marketing, we do PPC. We've got all of our referral deals, and a very exciting one, which I know we're gonna talk more about, is now TV, right? And so over the years, it was a slow progression, and it was just steady and consistent. I was doing a deal my first year. Did my first deal with Sean Terry, another deal with Sean Terry, another deal with Sean Terry. Then it was spending marketing in my local market, and every other month I'd get a deal. So nothing to brag about within the first year. And then, would do a deal a month the second year. Then it's 2 to 3 deals. Now we're going somewhere, right? Now we progress to 3 to 5 deals. Now we're 5 to 7. And so as I've kind of doubled down on marketing, that's when we would always have that next jump. And at the time, it was always scary to spend that money, especially with me doing flips, because flips is so cash intensive. And it was money coming in, and we bought 3 more projects, a lot more money is going out.
Yep.
And it was always scary to spend more money. But as I kind of think, what's going to take us to this next level? Sure, it could have been buy better deals and make more money on those. But at the time, it was like, we need more deals. Let's do more marketing. And it would always continue to pay off. And so, example of another great marketing strategy that we both do at this point was TV. And this was a time when everybody's at home. How can I get in front of people a lot better besides the direct mail I'm already doing and some of the PPC? I was presented with the opportunity to jump in on the TV program, Tony Javier. And I was reluctant at first. I thought, is this going to be too expensive? Is it going to work? All these different, objections I had. And because it was a done for you program, I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot, because I'm not going to have to be the one figuring out how to do it. I literally just set it up once and my phone will start ringing. That sounds pretty good. So, yeah, man, right out the gate, the deals, the leads started coming in. We closed a $35,000 deal within our first month before we'd even made a payment for, the ad spend. And that paid for the next 3.5 months. Right. So I was a believer from closing that first deal. And, we've had we've made $800,000 in revenue from that. And one of those $100,000 deals that we own and is on the market now and will net right around 100 is from TV. So there's another example of that. And so for us, besides the money, I would spend the money. I've spent just a little over $200,000 in ad spend over the past year and 3 quarters, let's call it. It's coming up on 2 years. I would spend all that money again if I just continued to get the authority and credibility that it's given our business, because that in itself is worth so much value. Instantly, we had even real estate investors reaching out to us saying like, oh, I didn't know you had it like that. Oh, you guys are ballers. Oh man, you guys are legit. Like just the community aspect.
Right.
And think about those friends with benefits deals I got. People probably came to us because they're like, all right, these guys are legit.
Yeah, I mean, TV is not cheap per se, but it's not as bad as what you would think. If you're listening to this and you're doing direct mail campaigns and, maybe you're sending 10,000 letters a month, like if you continue to do that and build that up and then introduce another channel like that, the TV authority is insane. Like
Yeah.
the amount of just credibility you get from it. And then not to mention, do you feel famous when a seller sees you or it talks to you on the phone like, oh, is this really Dean, the guy from TV?
I'll
It just
listen to
makes
some of
doing
the
business so easier.
Yeah, I'll listen to some of the calls and they'll say, "Is this Dean? Is this Dean from TV?" But because I'm not on any of the calls anymore, I don't have the power right on the other side of the phone, and I'm not going on appointments, so I don't get that boost to help me. But without question, being on TV gives you the authority, and I got a great short story about that. How we had a property under contract, the seller was stopped communicating with us for like 2 days, and we're like, "What's going on?" And I get a call from another investor who we had been doing friends with benefits deal. He's like, "Hey, I got this property you might be interested in. It's at this address." I'm like, "Dude, we got that under contract." He's like, "What?" And he's like, "I just walked it with the seller, and she was showing me the property like she wanted to sell it to me." And he ended up calling me after. The funny part of the story is he's walking the house, and the TV commercial comes on with me on the TV.
Oh, snap.
And they stop and look at each other and watch it. And at the end of the commercial, she's like, "Do you have a commercial?" He's like, "Nah." And so
That's
hilarious the fact that we had that property under contract. We're on the TV. They have that awkward conversation. He calls me after. We tell him the whole story. So as an authority in the market and focus on abundance and building community and having good relationships, not competitors, but partners, this other good partner investor called and let the seller know, "Hey, you already have it under contract. You need to stick with them," and helped have our back. So again, just to emphasize how important that is, will help you in all aspects of the business.
I love it, man. So much value, so much good stuff. Um, Gosh, I could go on for hours talking real estate and football, especially. I really enjoyed
Yeah.
that. We don't get into that much depth, but I love football, and it was fun to hear the behind the scenes of that. But then also too, just hearing you break down your friends with benefits, dude, so much value there, and I know the listeners are gonna get a ton from it as well. Uh, Dean, man, we're gonna wrap this up, but before we do that, do you have any, I guess, words of wisdom, any final thoughts? And obviously, we'll let people know where they can find out more about you as well.
Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing that I learned from playing sports and playing in the NFL is I didn't make it to the NFL by mistake. Now, I will say there's always a bit of luck, especially getting to that level. Anyone you see famous on TV, a famous chef or a famous celebrity, there's without question skill and effort, but there's always some bit of luck. And I think everyone would admit that. Like, man, I just got fortunate, right? But the one thing that allowed me to have that opportunity and has also played a huge part in my business and success in real estate is the fact that I have been disciplined. That's the key word right there, is discipline. And I've been saying it over and over and over whenever I've been asked the question, because there's always and will always be someone who's bigger, faster, stronger, right? And this is in the terms of football. There was always someone bigger, faster, stronger, more athletic. I mean, I remember training for the NFL before I went, and training at a junior college with some other athletes who were just looking to get to the next level in college. Some of them freak athletes that just made me look like a chump, but they just didn't have the discipline. They couldn't put it all together. Whether they just weren't the football player, didn't have like the football, intuition to put plays together or whatever, or it's just that they just kept screwing up in school or whatever, right? Or they had a bad attitude, whatever it is. But it's just it's being disciplined that will continue to move you forward and build momentum because you're being consistent. That is the key to success. Everyone wants that easy button that's going to propel you forward. And sure, you might get lucky and get something that takes off, like you bought, GameStop or something like that when it was $5 and sold it at 500. You might get lucky like that in life, but most people don't. It's them being disciplined and consistent that is going to allow them to have that momentum that builds and builds. And then you look back and you're like, whoa, I guess I did do something pretty cool. So I think that's the key to really everybody's success is being disciplined.
All right, there you have it. And I couldn't agree more, right? You can't see it, but this sign back here says, get 1% better every day. And that is my motto, is just always, it's continuous improvement. We've never arrived. We're just becoming the absolute best version of ourselves. So thank you, Dean, for that good words of wisdom there. I have one announcement to make. I did a TV show in Las Vegas. It's called Funding Face Up. I'm rocking the shirt right here. It actually airs tonight at 8 p.m.
Nice.
CST on Bargain House Network. So if you're watching this, watching the replay, let us know in the comments. Number one, share this show out to your friends. Tell some people about it. But check out Funding Face Off. It's a new TV show. It's like Shark Tank of real estate investors. So we got to go pitch a deal to Kevin Harrington, which is pretty cool. And yeah, it's going to be exciting. So you're going to want to make sure you tune into that and check that show out, as well as share this and go follow Dean. Dean is doing amazing things, and he's also helping other investors as well, not just with the Friends with Benefits program, but you also have another venture as well. Yep. So DeanRogers.com. And then if you want to hook up on TV, Dean and I know a guy. You have to let him know that where you heard it from, though. And so you can either hit me or Dean up and let him know, and he'll take care of you. And lastly, I think that's it, man. Go follow Dean. Thanks for tuning in, guys. And until the next one, we'll see you there.
See you guys.